Hey, welcome to episode 21, and this will be a little bit of a continuation of last week's vlog, which came to you from Nicaragua. Really interesting for me as I jump into episode 21. Last week, the purpose of the vlog was really kind of just to talk with you through the rationale and thinking of why we felt it was critical to be in Nicaragua doing the work that we were doing there. Amazing week, and got to see some amazing kids and patients there, and also train some amazing leaders. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is, in there, I was sharing with you just the idea of owning your decisions. In other words, we had made the decision to travel to Nicaragua. It was an intentional decision, intentional choice. I shot that video last Tuesday. Last Tuesday evening, we got back to the hotel that we were staying at after all the ministry that we did that day, to an email from the State Department saying, you need to begin to adjust your plans, which that was Tuesday evening. By Wednesday evening, the message from the State Department was, get home now. Just how quickly this thing is changing with the coronavirus all over the world. But we made the decision in coming back, so we flew out then Friday, got back into the United States, but we made the decision to put ourselves in quarantine. And so for the foreseeable future, I'm in Tempe, Arizona, just miles away from my own home and my own bed, but choosing just out of due diligence of precaution to put myself in quarantine. And so I wanted to give you a couple of thoughts about what I realize for me that is keeping me sane and keeping me focused on joy instead of focusing on the negative during this crisis right now. Number one thought is just simply this, is that, and this is just got to be one of the most common things I remind myself, whatever I focus on is what I move towards. In other words, for me, if I'm going to focus on negative, then that is obviously where I'm going to head towards, is negative. And so for me, and I talk all the time about my gratitude journal, it has never been more critical than it is right now, just to help me to stay focused on choosing joy each day and choosing gratitude each day. But number two is realizing that probably the challenge for most of us in this time and in this crisis, what we feel the most is loss of control. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because I think that I have to remind myself often that control in many ways is an illusion. I know that for most of us, this idea of control, if we're not careful, we will discover in very difficult times we have less control than we thought. And so for me, just in realizing that if control tends to be an illusion, then what I try to do is to understand I need to always be prepared to choose my response versus just reacting when I'm just reminded that I have less control than I thought. So for me, throughout this whole thing, everything I read in the news, and I'm having to adjust my life and my decisions based on everything I see, well, again, control was an illusion, and so I can choose to respond versus react. Here's the third thing, and this is the thing I want to leave you with this week, is that we have the opportunity to discover in ourselves just what we want to do during this time that adds value. I think that there's some people that they will choose to focus on just the negative news, and it's not helpful, right? In other words, if we're just going to continue just to focus on negative, that's not helpful. And so I want to ask myself throughout this time, what can I do that's helpful for people? Whether it's putting positive social media posts, whether it's FaceTiming people more, I think, in this time than I ever have in my life. But what can I do that's helpful? I think for all of us, if we take on the mentality of, I want to do things during this crisis that are helpful, we will all be better as a result of it. Hey, go ahead and like this video, and comment down below of things that you're purposely trying to do during this time that are helpful for people. And as always, subscribe, and let's keep the journey going. I will still be in quarantine next week, so I can tell you for sure, look for me next week in Tempe, Arizona. Have a great week.